So for me, trying to create a plan was actually a little bit difficult, mainly because there's the things that I have to do and there's the things that I want to do, and also there's a lot of stuff that I need to do that I want to do through the union and through the university. So trying to include what most people are presenting as their strategic plan, their 3 aims, I also thought, well, I have to include the 10 education priorities as well. And trying to create that into a map is quite difficult. But what I'm going to ask now is if we can have a little bit of interactivity again. And if you wouldn't mind all reading out one of the 10 priorities that you have. If we start with 1.
Students should have no more than 1 assessment, including both exam and coursework deadlines per day, and no more than 3 per week.
There should be an increase in the number of lectures being captured, as well as the quality of video and availability of the facilities to do so.
The 3-week turnaround period for coursework must be audited and reported on at SSLCs and also annually at LTC.
The SSLC chairs should be a recognised role within school/department structures. It's been included in their online academic staff page, and the role will have a standardised outline.
All schools/departments and joint honours students based in another school department should treat said students the same as their single honours students. Schools/departments should appoint a joint honours liaison staff member to ensure that this occurs.
All students should be provided with referencing teaching upon starting their course, and all students should be able to view a copy of their turnitin report for their first piece of work.
There should be an increase in easily accessible informal work experiences with an adequate equipment provision for all needs.
There should be a summer extension of library opening hours to ensure postgraduate students can access facilities at the time they need.
Students should be provided with more small group teaching.
The VP Education will work with schools and departments to encourage them to host school department specific academic awards.
Okay, so these might not all be relevant to you, but can you do me a favour and pop up your hand as a student if one of those would have increased or enhanced your experience here at university? Okay, so my aim is not only to demonstrate the relevance of the 10 priorities and why I'm putting them forward in my plan, but also the reason that I made it interactive and gave them to you is because these aren't all my story, but these are students' stories. So these priorities belong to students. So that's why I wanted to get you involved in that. And I want to try and get students involved in these priorities and make them realise that they belong to them. So you guys might not have necessarily read my list of 10 priorities, but as you know now, at least one of them would increase your, would enhance your time here. Okay. So now that you've seen the 10 priorities, I'm going to go on to my sort of 3-point plan and what I want to implement within the role. So I want to make education taken more seriously in the union. You are actually all participating in education, whether you like it or not, so why not make it as good as it can be? Why not get involved in the union and make it as good as it possibly can be? Some of the ways that I want to do this is to make my position contested. It hasn't been for the last quite a few years, and most unions, it's one of the most contested positions. Why is that different in Loughborough? So I am in the position at the moment where I'm trying to recommend people, trying to make it so that people are more aware of the role. So one of my aims is to make it so that the VP Education role in February is contested. Also, I think a big part of getting education taken more seriously is closing the feedback loop more often. So reps do a huge amount. Last year, they instigated almost 200 changes that we could track in the university. That is a lot. That is a lot of changes made just through the rep system. However, sometimes reps don't necessarily say, oh, I've just done this for you, by the way. So you guys probably aren't aware that those changes are all being made for your benefit. So part of what I really want to try and do this year is increase closing the feedback loop. So I've included that a lot more in the training that reps get. And also I want to introduce this year at some point an SSLC newsletter. So reps go to what is called a student staff liaison committee, where they formally give across their feedback, things like that. And often that's not necessarily at the forefront. So students should know that this is happening and should maybe get a sort of small letter to say this is what's happening, probably on Facebook, things like that. Also, part of making education taken more seriously, It was included in my manifesto. Accountability, so having a VP Education question time. The plans are still there to hopefully have it in place for semester 2. Semester 1, during your education week, I'm actually doing a postgraduate one. Since starting the role, I have realised that postgraduates probably need this most. So I'm actually setting up a postgraduate question time at the Graduate House to make sure that we're being held accountable, as well as the grad school and the university. My second point is more participation in your education. So there's been a number of things that we've tried to do to get this. One of them, hopefully you'll have seen already, Feedback Fortnight. A lot of the targeted message we did was to try and increase participation with people that aren't necessarily engaged in the current rep system. So we did a lot of trying to go through halls, Facebook, that sort of thing, that the tribe system, academic invigilists are more likely to do that sort of stuff, and they're more likely to respond to emails. That's the way education normally works, but we're really trying hard this year to increase participation in that way. Some of the things that I want to do, I want to have the most postcards filled out in your education week. I want there to be more events in Keep Calm, so it's more relevant to more people. So I think that is something that we need to work on, making your education more relevant to more people. And finally, building a community of reps and students. Reps are, as I said, a huge community of people, about 500 or so reps, and they instigate about 200 changes across campus last year, and regularly they do that. So I want to make sure that they can share best practice, they can have a community together, but also a community of students that are engaged in giving feedback. So I want reps as valued as more of a prestigious role. Part of my plans for that is within your education week, so raising the profile of them. I'm hoping to do a blog competition between reps to try and get them out there a little bit more, things like that. And also with this one, why do we have such a huge hall identity on campus but not really a department identity? This is a question that I want to really address this year. I personally felt extreme affiliation to my department. Most people don't. I want to know why that is. For those of you who don't know, I have actually got a tattoo relating to my actual department. I was a politics student. That is Politics, History and International Relations, and we pronounce that FEAR because we're really cool. And I have Fearless tattooed on my foot. But I felt such a strong affiliation to my department that I did that. I know there are quite a few people on campus that do have hall tattoos, but I'm probably one of the only people with a department tattoo. Why is that? I really want to address that this year. So that's something I'm going to be working on a lot. I was hoping I'd get a few giggles. Just to bring it sort of round, to go back to the 10 priorities, the 10 priorities clearly fit also within all of those 3 sections, so the completing of them and things like that. There will also be an update at the Academic Summit for anyone that's interested on how I'm going with that already. So thank you.